A very good morning and welcome to the Top Women Masterclass series. This is the Standard Bank Top Women Empower Entrepreneur Development Series, the first of 4. Of course, we are still waiting for some of you to join in, but those of you who have joined us, feel free to send us your names. Tell us a little bit about yourself and where you are joining us from before we get this session started. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome you today. A very, very good morning to you all, dialing in from all over the world. My name is Helen Namponya, coming to you from the city of Roses, Bloemfontein. I noticed there are quite a number of Free Staters commenting there in the box. So whoop, whoop to us here in the Free State. I'm glad to see you joining and taking part. Of course, I am incredibly excited to be moderating the first of 4 Empower Entrepreneur Development Series, brought to you, of course, by Topco Media, in partnership with our favorite bank, Standard Bank. And we did get some exciting news this morning. We are very proud to welcome UN Women on board as a sponsor for this phenomenal series. Now, in case you aren't all that familiar with how this series works, right? It's a 4-part series of masterclasses, which offers female entrepreneurs the opportunity to upskill themselves and also to access knowledge from experts. So you'll notice over the next sessions, we'll have a variety of experts covering a number of different topics, which are all aimed at equipping and engaging women in business. Now, some of you taking part in this series will have the chance to take part in a pitching day. You get to pitch your business to experts and you get immediate feedback from a diverse panel. But that's not all. You also might be able to go through to the Standard Bank Top Women Hybrid Awards. So there's a lot at stake for these masterclasses. And like I said, I'm very, very excited to be part of the first of 4. You can follow our Empower Entrepreneur Development Series on our social media platforms. That's Standard Bank Top Women on Facebook, SB Top Women Leaders as well on Instagram, and we are going to be streaming throughout. Also, do feel free to pose your questions to our panelists. You can do that via our Q&A and also our chat box. So I will be posing some of those questions to our experts this morning, right? I keep mentioning experts, so I think it's very important that I introduce you to the 2 ladies. Let me rephrase, 2 phenomenal women who have burst through ceilings, and they really are running their own races in their respective fields. I'd like to introduce you to Natalie Colby. She's a partner at Norscan, which is a company which supports entrepreneurs through growth funding, and she's got a wealth of experience in investment. So we're looking forward to some of the tips that she is going to offer today. Good morning, Natalie, and thank you so much for joining us.
Morning, Helen, and thank you very much for having me on the on this cast. It's I must say, I'm blown away by the number of ladies that have joined us today, and also just the wide variety of their background. So it's going to be looking forward to the conversation.
Absolutely, and Natalie, while you are introducing yourself, right? Today's topic is around financial wellness. What can you give us a hint of what to expect about what you're going to cover today? What can we expect? What can the viewers expect to hear from you today from an investment perspective?
Yeah, so Helen, look, what I'm hoping to cover is, obviously I come from an investment perspective, so we invest in entrepreneurial businesses, and hopefully just to give the audience a view of what it is that investors look for in entrepreneurs when we are looking to fund businesses. What is it that we're looking for? And how do you then put that into a business plan that can be attractive for investors to come on board?
Thank you so much. She is one of our panelists. The other is a money coach. Her name is Busi Selesho. She encourages us to have a healthy relationship with your finances, and she's going to be essentially taking us through financial wellness from a mindset perspective. Good morning, Busi, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Helen. Thank you so much for having me. And I am really looking forward to this session with all these amazing ladies.
What can we expect to hear from you today throughout the session?
So most of the things that as entrepreneurs, as women entrepreneurs worry about is the money. We start the business because we want to make the money. And we start it, and all of a sudden, your accountant tells you that you've made a lot of money. but you don't know where the money is. You don't know. You have to pay tax, but you also have to invest this money that you're supposed to be having back to the business, but you don't know where the money is. You don't see the money. And also you are now at the stage of trying to get new investments to build your business, to expand, and you do not know how to do these things. So that is where I'll be talking from. The mindset of how do you build your business up when the money is coming in, but you don't know what to do with it or where to get it so that you can make things work.
I definitely think you are going to offer some incredible insight. Thank you, ladies. And we're definitely looking forward to hearing the knowledge that you're going to be imparting today. Now, starting and running a business is really not as simple as 1, 2, 3. Like, a lot of people make it seem. There are numerous challenges which one encounters. And I think it's incredibly important to be prepared. So I hope this session is going to cover that aspect. But before we even get the business off the ground, right? There's a business plan stage. You're looking for investors. You're looking for funding to get your business off the ground. And essentially, that's where we are going to be starting today. But before we get into the nitty-gritties of entrepreneurship and finance from a business perspective, I'd like us to touch a bit on the term entrepreneur. We throw around the word entrepreneur so often. I mean, we hear it every single day. But I'd like to actually delve into what exactly is an entrepreneur. What does that term entrepreneurship mean? And Sis Busi, I'd like to start with you. What is an entrepreneur and what is entrepreneurship?
Yeah, that is a very important question. So an entrepreneur is someone who is daring, is someone who is ready to say, I have a dream, I have a goal, I have a mission, or I have a calling or a purpose. And now I want to share who I am with the world. Because entrepreneurship is not something like something that you will go into it because you are hoping it works. It's something that you have to give everything of who you are. It is so critical that when we go into entrepreneurship, we choose this thing that we are passionate about, because it's not an easy road. And when you don't have the passion, when you don't have this thing that pushes you, it is very easy to give up on the way. It is very easy to say, oh, well, you know what, let me just maybe stop here. But it has to be something that is so passionate, because this is a game of those good days.
Natalie, I'd like to hear from you as far as entrepreneurship is concerned. Busi obviously touched on the importance of being daring, of being driven, of having a passion, and ultimately that will assist you in driving your business. But from your perspective, what is entrepreneurship?
Yeah, Helen, I mean, it's a good question, because you're right. It is used very ubiquitously. And, and there's a wide range of entrepreneurship, from starting from, the very beginning, where you may be running a nail bar outside of your house, or, baking cakes for the local community, all the way through to being, running a multi-billion-dollar tech enterprise, and that you started from scratch. So, and everything in between that is entrepreneurship. But obviously, the path to success and the experience on that continuum is very different. And I think just if you have a look at the kind of SME world, which is more around your community, building a business that's within your community, and that often does come from a passion, as Busi said, very important that it has your passion. But it is, that is often a lifestyle choice. People who go into entrepreneurship either for because they have to, or because they want to. They no longer want to work for somebody, but they start something small, something that they're interested in: hair, beauty, nails, making grandmom's favorite chili out of your kitchen, whatever that might be. You're in control of your own destiny. You can often run that business by yourself, and it gives you flexibility. And often for working moms, that's something that people want to do, because you're the master of your own destiny. You can decide how busy or not you want to be. Obviously, as you move up the size of business, where you're looking to grow that business, more responsibility comes. You're now having to employ people. You're no longer a master of your own destiny from a time perspective. You're having to take into consideration, you're having to work the same hours as your employees work. And importantly, as you tend to get bigger and bigger, that is often when you need external capital. And that's where we come in. So, and with external capital, comes responsibility, because you are no longer else's money as well. And I think it's that distinction I think a lot of entrepreneurs need to think about. Do I want to have complete control of my business, or do I want to accelerate this and grow, but then I'm probably going to have to bring somebody else in to sit alongside me and take some of my shares?
I want to touch on the pros and cons of both. I mean, you can either go it alone, or you can get somebody, an investor, a funder, to sort of walk the journey with you. What are some of the pros and cons of either option?
Yeah, I mean, Helen, definitely I think, the kind of, I'm going to use the word master of your own destiny is absolutely, I think, the biggest difference between the two. The one is, if you're running your own business that you're in complete control of, obviously you can come and go as you want, do as you please, be as busy or not as busy as you want, work your own hours. When you're growing the business and you're wanting to accelerate that growth, often you need to bring in external capital, because the business can't necessarily grow, or the cash flows coming out of the business can't necessarily sustain the growth that you're looking for. So if you want to accelerate growth, you want to get ahead of the competition, you can see that there's big wide open space that you want to grow into, but you don't have the capital to do that. That's when you go externally. So the benefits of going externally for capital is that you get a fresh injection of cash into your business, and you can hit the road, hit the deck running and accelerate your growth. However, that comes with responsibility. You are taking money, you're taking capital from an investor, and an investor will want return. And with that comes stress, because as an investor, I'm going to be saying, well, where's your business plan? How is this business growing? When am I going to get a return on my investment? And you might not want the headache of that, but the benefit is that you can have that accelerated growth, and often you can have a better financial outcome. More money in your back pocket by going down that route. So it's a trade-off between flexibility and your own time versus wanting to grow something and have potentially a bigger stake of a bigger business and greater financial control or greater financial freedom at that point.
Now, on the subject of mastering your own destiny and growing, you mentioned capital a lot. Businesses require capital, in order to grow. And for many entrepreneurs and many business owners, they don't necessarily have their own savings, which they can just start a business with. So they would be looking for funders or be looking for investors. Now, I want to touch on, the very beginning stages where you are putting together your business plan for an investor. From that perspective, what are some of the things that an investor actually looks for in a business plan that would determine whether it's a yay or a no?
Yeah. So, Helen, the first thing that before we even look at the business plan is we look at the entrepreneur, the person that we're going to be investing behind. And as Busi said, that passion has to come through. You've got to be, if you're not passionate about your business, there's no way that I as an investor can be passionate about your business and be interested in it. So that passion, doing something that you really, really want to do, something that you feel passionate about, that will shine through in a conversation that I'm having with you as an investor. So I think that's the starting point before we even open up the business plan. I think as part of a business plan, I think the main thing that you want to be looking for is, what is the problem that you're looking to solve, or what is the gap in the market that you're looking to fill? If you're coming out with a Me Too product, that's going to be hard to look at. But if you're coming out with something slightly different, something that's going to upset the competition, that you can find a niche for yourself, that is what we're going to be looking for in a business plan. And it's particularly attractive as if you're solving a real problem, whether it's problem around access to education for students, or money, skills, etc. If you're solving a problem that there is in the community and we can see that there's demand for it, that certainly needs to come through in your business plan. So setting the environment, what is the environment that you're operating in? What is the competitive landscape? Who else is doing this? How big is the market opportunity? And is there a white space for you to be able to grow into? So once you've got the market contextualized, what the competitive situation is, what your target market is, a very important part is then the actual business plan, putting out what your forecasts are, what's your revenue growth, what the capital that I'm putting in, what are you going to do with that capital? Are you going to hire a sales team? Or is looking to go into build your tech? Are you hiring a CFO? Are you looking to expand into another market? So what is it that you're going to be using that capital for? How is that going to then support the business in growth? What are your costs? How are you going to bring in staff to support that growth? Because as you grow, you're going to need more staff, more hands on deck to do that. And then also often investors will need an exit plan. So you need to be able to say, well, look, investor, I want you to come in for 3 to 5 years, but then this is how I'm going to look to grow this business, that you'd be able to get your money back at some point, and how that return's going to work. And then importantly, who's the team? Who's the team that's behind this? It starts with the entrepreneur, but obviously it can't start and end with her. Who are the people that are supporting you in this, and some clarity around that.
Thank you, Natalie. Now, Busi, I'd like you to come in here, right? You specialize in adjusting the mindset as far as business and entrepreneurship is concerned. Now, what sort of mind shift does a Helen, right? I'm an ordinary employee and I want to start a business. What is the mind shift that I would need to go through from the employee mindset to now I'm starting my business? These are the things that I would need to think of in order to sustain that business. How do we shift the mindset?
So that is very important, because now if you are still in a job, you have a skill and you know how to use that skill. But when you become an entrepreneur, like Natalie was just saying, everything now is on your plate. So there are many more things that you have to look into. Your own mental health, your own financial stability at home. How are you going to cope with that? So it's important for someone who wants to go into entrepreneurship to start preparing themselves to say, do I really know how much I need to be able to have every month for me to survive? When this business is still small, when I haven't found enough clients, when I haven't found people who will support the business, investors, and can I be able to have my life sustained? Because this is where a lot of things go wrong for entrepreneurs. But it's not a place, again, to be scared, because one of the other things that you can do then is being scared of saying, if I jump, normally that's the language that is used, will I be able to land somewhere? Then you stop yourself for 50 years because you are probably never going to be totally ready. So what I'm saying is that be ready, think about being ready, but do not also let that fear stop you from doing something that is in your, that is your dream. So one of the things that are very important when you're about to start a business is to make sure that you have support. Now, I don't mean only money. Is your family on board? Your kids, do they understand what is about to happen? Your partner, your family, so people who are around you. So when you need to go on a late meeting, will they be there to take care of the kids? When you need to do this, will they be able to cover for you? So have a support structure. Your friends, get someone who can be on board with you. But then again, while you're looking for people who will support you, there are people also who will say, oh, hell no, you're not doing that. You're not gonna win. Again, what I say is that those people, when they normally say don't do it, it's because they are reading the situation in their own terms. For them, this is a big task. So again, when you look for support, you must look for somebody who can be able to truly support you. The best case scenario is finding a coach. Everybody who's successful in the world has coaches. I have several coaches that help me to maneuver things, because there's always going to be something that is thrown at you that you have never seen, that you've never been, you've never understood. So make sure that you find the correct support. So find a coach. A coach is somebody that will never say to you, today I think you should quit. This is enough. A coach is someone who's always going to say to you, oh no, this is your blind spot. This is your blind spot. This is your blind spot. You're not doing it right here. This is where you're supposed to go. So find support that is stable. Do not look at your mother for support. She might be scared herself. Don't look at your husband. Sometimes also he must be scared. He might even be thinking, oh my goodness, we're gonna not eat anymore in this house if this one she's going to start the business. So look for support that is strong, so that when it's hard, you know which shoulder to cry on. Because some of the shoulders that you think, like your friends, like whoever, they might not be good shoulders to cry on in those times. So support is very important. Then number 2 is that how connected are you to this vision? People do not buy a product. If you're selling t-shirts, people don't buy t-shirts. People buy you. So if you just selling the t-shirts because you have to sell them, nobody cares. Nobody wants your t-shirt that you're just selling because you have to. So you must make sure that you're connecting very, very strongly with what you are giving to us, because we're only gonna buy if we know that you believe in what you're selling to us. If you're selling a t-shirt, you must really believe, why must I wear the t-shirt? Because if I'm wearing the t-shirt, I'm going to be great and people are going to start to take me serious or whatever. So I need to hear it from you. Why I have to buy this. So you must be very connected with what you're doing. So don't do just something because everybody's doing, just like Natalie said. If you're starting a business because everybody else is doing it, you're not going to be able to fight at it. I mean, I can tell you, at one point I was in debt of 40 million rand just because I was trying to make 40 M. And those are the places where only your passion can take you out of. It's not a place that you can just try to make it out. But when you are passionate about something, then you come out of those places. So I am saying passionate because you can make anything. Money can be found in everything. You could be doing a business of collecting rubbish. You could be doing whatever business. Everything's got money. So choose the one that is your passion, that is your that has your DNA on, because then you will be able to fight through.
I'm glad you touch a lot on passion. I don't think we pay a lot of attention to passion. Like you were saying, a lot of people are starting businesses for the sake of starting business, and the passion aspect lacks there. But you also shared about being in debt of 40 million. And that's another mental adjustment. I think anybody who experiences debt, whether it's business debt or personal debt, it can be immensely stressful. I mean, we know of people and business owners who've gone as far as committing suicide because they couldn't handle that pressure. So as a money coach, how do you advise your clients, or what tips can you give to us in terms of managing stress and managing challenges? Because I mean, when you've got such a big debt, it can really seem like the end of the road.
And it's true. Stress is, you need to be friends with stress. That's one thing. If you think stress is going to kill you, then you are in big trouble, because it will kill you. You have to be friends with stress. Now, one of the things is that when you're in business, most of the time you're going to be in debt, because you're going to go and get capital from somewhere, and you're going to have to be paying it at some point. Number one, every debt, it feels the same. If you owe the bank 1 rand or you owe the bank 40 million, the pain is the same. Now, the only thing that counts is how are you able to manage, knowing that you can come out of 1 rand debt, you can come out of 40 million rand debt. So at this point, your ability to deal with stress has to be at a level where you know that there's no way you're going to fail. And if you are failing, it's not because you're doing something wrong, it's because you are learning. So if you're going to look at stress as something you want to avoid, it's never going to be avoidable. Look at stress as, what am I learning now? What am I learning now? Because in everything that happens in your business, it's either it's a good thing, you are learning, oh, this is how we should be doing something. If it's a bad thing, you're learning, oh, this is not how we should be doing something. So understand that stress is your friend. If you are not stressing, something is wrong.
You said it. You said it. I think every day there is some type of stress, and the key really is to manage that. Thank you so much to everyone who has joined us this morning from wherever you are joining us from, around the country, around the world. This is, of course, the first of 4 masterclasses as part of the Empower Entrepreneur Development Series, brought to you by Topco Media in partnership with Standard Bank, It Can Be, and our new sponsor, UN Women. We welcome them on board this morning. Very, very exciting. Remember as well that you can pose some questions to our panelists. You've met Mebusi. She is a money coach. And of course, I am talking to Natalie Colby, who's a partner at Norskin. So feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A or in the chat box, and I'll definitely make sure that I pose those questions. We're talking about the importance of having a coach. I've got a question coming through from Anthea Basson. Busi, this one is for you. In fact, let me combine the two, Anthea Basson and Yvette Slages, right? Their question is, what should one look for in a coach or in a mentor? And how does one go about finding the right type of coach for your business?
Okay, so that is a very important question. First of all, it must be someone that you click with. So you must, at some point, be able to work with this person, personality-wise, how they work. I mean, I remember the first coach that I had was a very good coach. And he was pushing me. He was pushing me to all the things that I was scared of. He kept pushing me. But there was a time in the business where I didn't need pushing. Now I needed stability. And I had to move away from that coach because now I was gaining more stress from the push. But now I was at the point of maintaining what I had built. So at all times, you must make sure that you are connecting with somebody that understands where you are and can give you what you need, because sometimes you need somebody to help you maintain, sometimes you need somebody to make you start and push, sometimes you need somebody who can help you with your stress and your mentality, sometimes you need somebody who can help you with your business techniques and all this. So you must just make sure that you are finding somebody at that time that understands where you are. And then number two, you need to find somebody who understands your industry. That also helps a lot. So if and I'm not saying any business coach cannot help you with any industry, but if you find someone who is in that, say, who has experience in the same industry, it helps because they also become a mentor in terms of connecting you, in terms of saying, this I know works for sure, this I know doesn't work sometimes. So you don't just get the general business going in a business, but you also get extra advice on the type of industry you are in. So there are coaches that specializes in certain industries. So let's say maybe you are in the catering or hospitality industry. You find coaches that are in that and mentors. So find somebody who already has some kind of an experience in what you wanted to go into.
Thank you so much, Busi. I am taking your questions via our Q&A and also our chat box. My name is Helen Namponya. Thank you so much for joining us from wherever you are joining us. We are super, super excited to be part of Standard Bank's Empower Entrepreneur Development Series, joined by Natalie Colby, who's a partner at Norscan. And that is a company that supports entrepreneurs with growth funding. And of course, money coach Busi Silesho. Now, Natalie, I want to pose some questions from our audience, right? I've got a question coming from Tato Linka from the Free State. And Tato would like to know, how does one go about securing an investor without giving away too much of my business and efforts?
Yeah, Helen, and unfortunately, therein lies the trade-off. If an investor is putting money into your business, they're going to want something for that, right? There's no money for free, unfortunately. So if you're taking investor money, they are going to buy shares in your business, and you will lose a bit of control in that process, right? Because you're going to have somebody else sitting around your table. You're going to be answering to an investor who's going to want a return on their investment. So there's no money for free. If you're taking an investor on board, they get shares in your business, and they sit around your table. I mean, I think the way to reduce giving away too much is to grow within your means. Obviously, the more money you take, the more shares they're going to take. So you need to balance that with, well, how fast do I want to grow and how much am I willing to give up? Because if you take a lot of capital, you'll be able to grow pretty quickly, but that also means that you're going to give up more of your business, versus if you take less, you'll grow slightly. You won't grow as fast, but you'd be more in control of your business, and you'd be giving less up. So it really does come down to what the entrepreneur wants. Do they want to fuel their growth and grow quickly and therefore not mind giving up some of the control and some of the shares? Or would they rather keep that control and that shareholding and take growth a little bit slower? And there's no right or wrong answer here. It is a personal choice and a personal, what do you prefer? And you can go either way on that continuum. So there's no right or wrong answer in that.
Got you. You spoke about not giving too much away. Now, I want to talk about not giving too much away in a business plan. I mean, we've heard stories where, a Helen on the street puts together a business plan, it lands up in the wrong hands, and you've got this business idea that's stolen. So from that perspective, right, how do you include enough information in a business plan to to hook an investor, but not give too much away about your business?
Yeah, Helen, I must say, on this point, I mean, there's very little out there that is not discoverable, via the internet or speaking to people. And, a business isn't necessarily successful because of the idea. A business is successful because of the entrepreneur. So I might find your business plan, lying in the street somewhere, and I can pick it up and look at it and go, oh, this looks like a great business. But if I'm not passionate about it, it's just not going to succeed. So I do think, I think people can get a little bit hung up on this, like, oh no, it's a big state secret, and if somebody sees this, then they're going to run away with my plan. I don't buy that as often. And what from an investor perspective, I am going to be more inclined to give you my capital if you are 100% open and honest with me, because I need to feel that authenticity and I need to trust you if I'm going to be investing in your business. And if you're holding something back from me, I'm going to feel that, and I'm going to be less inclined to trust and therefore less inclined to invest. I mean, remember, when you're talking to an investor like me, that's not my skill set. My skill set is not to run a business that you're putting in front of me. My skill set is to invest. That's what I've been doing for 20 years. That's my skill set. I've got no desire and no interest, and certainly I won't be good at it if I take your business plan and try and implement that. That's yours. So if you're talking to an investor, I would say err on the side of being open rather than closed, because they will feel that authenticity and that trust in that interaction.
Thank you so much for answering that question. I've got another question coming through from Vicky Lombard. Now, she says, I've outgrown my business, sold it for profit. What now? How do I plan a new business in a different industry, particularly because she is afraid of her previous failure or success?
Look, I think Brucey said this, very well. You need to be comfortable with failure, because, we use the word failure, and I love what you said. Failure is learning. If you're not failing, you're not learning. And therefore, take the learnings from the failure and apply that. I mean, I think what we do sometimes do is we go, okay, I've done this. Now I want to do something completely different. Fine. If you didn't enjoy that, you didn't love it, that's okay. But then remember, if you're doing something completely different, you're starting from scratch. You're having to go through the complete learning curve. You're going to have to pay all the school fees. So my recommendation would be rather take what you've learned from that industry and, maybe pivot it slightly to something slightly different and take those learnings on board, because it's that learning through failure which will eventually get you to be successful. A lot of us, have a look at people and go, oh, look how successful they are. They look like they're overnight successes. Nobody is an overnight success. There's not a single person on this planet that is an overnight success. You might not have seen the last 10, 20 years that it's taken them, the blood, sweat, and tears that it's taken them to get there. And they might kind of pop up on the radar and go, oh gosh, out of nowhere they've arrived. No, they haven't. There's a lot of failure. Every single entrepreneur would have had a lot of failures and having to pivot their business, change it, et cetera, and adapt. And that's okay. I mean, I think, and I love what Brucey said, failure needs to, if you're not failing, you're not learning.
You're not learning, absolutely. However, what does happen when one fails is a lot of times, people get imposter syndrome. They doubt themselves. They wonder, is this really, for me? Am I capable? And Busi, I'd like you to come in here. Now, what kind of advice would you give to a business owner going through such a situation? I mean, you've had a business, it may not have worked out the way that you wanted it to work out, and now you're simply too afraid to start something new. You've got imposter syndrome, you're doubting yourself. How do you continue when you're not feeling so motivated? How do you navigate those challenges?
So, of course, all of us fail. Now, the one thing that I've seen over the years is that when we don't heal from what hurt us, we are left with this wound. And even, when you've got wounds all over your body, even a nice touch of something good, you are scared of being hit. Even if somebody's coming for a hug, you're like, oh, I'm about to get hit. So because you have failed in business before, now you're thinking everything that is to do with business is going to hurt you because you haven't healed these wounds. So if you heal from the things that have gone wrong, if you heal from the things that have hurt you in business, then you can be able to go and get a new business, because not every hug is going to hurt you. If your wounds are healed, you can get as many hugs as possible. So if you do not heal, you are going to find yourself repeating and manifesting the same thing that has happened before. So now all of us have emotions that gets to record things that we go through. If you go through an accident, you're walking out, you're driving out of your home, and you get into a four-ways and somebody hits you. Every time you go into that four-way, you will probably feel that thing that says, oh my goodness, I'm gonna hit again here. Something happened, driving is bad, all this. But once you have healed, then you forget. So we have to make sure that every business thing that has happened to us, we heal from it. When you heal from it, you learn the lesson. We cannot learn the lesson if we don't heal. So when you heal, you learn the lesson. When you learn the lesson, you get the blessing of why you went through what you went through. Because everything, how the light bulb was created, was because of so many failures. And today we have a light bulb that helps us so much. But the person had to still say, oh, I failed again, I'm going to do it again. So any business that you feel passionate about, you can make it work. It doesn't matter if you failed in another one. The next one that is not the one that you failed in. Even if you're going into the same industry, you are a new person every day, as long as you're here.
Key. And I think that applies to all aspects of life. You learn and you heal, and that enables you to move on and to actually do better. Busi, I've got a question coming through from Kopano, and I think it ties in nicely with how you're speaking about healing from these failures. Now, Kopano Kwapeng asks, how did you come out of the 40 million rand debt? I mean, what psychological and practical things did you have to do to recover, and how long did it take you?
Oh, that is a long story, Kopano. But I will really give you the very short version of it. Is that one of the things that I got into debt because of was a simple belief that said I needed money to make money. So that was my biggest problem, because what I did was every time I started a business, I went for a loan. Every time, so I would fail in this business, and then I would go and ask for a new business loan. And I actually got to learn how to get loans from a bank. I knew how to write the perfect business plan. I was probably a Natalie at that time. I knew exactly what the bank would want to see for me, for them to give me money. And they continually gave me money and gave me money because I learned to do that. But remember what? I was doing it from the wrong place where I thought I needed money to make money. Now, today I know I don't need money to make money. My skills make money, and that money I take it and I build more money from it. So, a thought that was saying I need money to make money took me way into that debt. But then when I was in that debt, I had to now learn what was wrong with my problem. That's why I'm saying the healing part is so important. When I realized that all this time I had this belief that I can't do any business without money, I needed to let that go. So when I let that go, I started the business without 1 rand, and today it's more than 15 years and it's doing very well. And I didn't start it with 1 rand. But that's what changed, because when I started it without debt, it actually made money from itself. But all the ones that I was starting with money, they didn't. But then, of course, I went into sequestration. When you go into sequestration, there's a whole lot of stuff that you went through. It's a messy place. But then, once I came out of the sequestration, I knew what was wrong. I fixed what was wrong, and I started a business without money anymore.
And I'm sure from the experience, you've really learned the importance of managing your finances, of budgeting, of managing your cash flow. So from that perspective, what sort of tips can you offer, our viewers in terms of managing your budget, in terms of managing your cash flow, and how to shift your mindset to allow you to save and better budget?
So one of the things that makes budgeting difficult is that you're looking at what you already have. And you are looking and saying, okay, if I only have 20 bucks, I need 1 rand for this, I need 2 rand for this. I've noticed that when you project, and Natalie will probably talk about this better, when you do your projections and push on making those projections a reality, budgeting becomes easy, because you are now not working with lack. You're working with saying, I am going to push this far and my budget is going to be this much. So if you are working from a positive view, you are not working from lack. You are going to be able to increase what you get at the end of the day. So budgeting on what you already have, looking at your bank account, it's not pretty. So it will give you stress, and whatever goal you set against that is going to be too small. But if you allow yourself to budget with your goals in mind, then you can really stretch yourself. So in budgeting, I always say stretch yourself and go for the highest that you can.
Thank you so much for that, Lucy. You know, you threw in the term financial projections, right? For us laymen, what is a financial projection? Where do you start putting one together?
Okay, so let me just say in the normal English, final projection is you saying, I am going to do 1, 2, 3 for me to get to 1, 2, 3. So you will say, I want to do 1, 2, 3 that will make me probably making 3 million rand sales a month, and I am going to then spend 1 million rand on this and this and this, and I'm going to profit this much and this much and this much. So you project from the place of saying how much money am I going to make, and you get into projecting how much of it will I spend. So of course, in this case, we're talking about mostly how you're going to make the money. So you project to say, I am going to look for 5 businesses that will give me 200,000 each, and then I will end up at this much. And for me to service each business, it will cost me 50,000, because if I work with more clients, I spend less on this. If I work with less clients, I make so much profit. So projection is saying, this is the vision of your business. It's the vision. When you sleep at night, it's the thing that you're supposed to see. You see yourself with 10 clients that are giving you 200,000. You wake up in the morning, you say, if I have 5 clients that give me 200,000, then I'll be able to buy stock in this way. Then you can be able to go to a service provider and say, service provider, if I bring you 5, if I order for 5 clients, would you give me this much? Then you start to do all those planning of saying, okay, now I can be able to go and ask this person to help me this way, this person to help me this way, because I know where I'm going. So that is what projection is about.
Thank you so much for enlightening us, particularly from a layman perspective. I think it's so important that we break these terms and these concepts down so that we're all on the same page. Starting a business, right? You obviously go through the funding stage, you get your business up and running. Now you want to grow your business, or you want to scale up. And Natalie, I'd love for you to come in here. Question from Tatum Brown. What are the considerations women should have when scaling up the business? She also says, I can tell my business is going through puberty, but I don't know how to help it.
That's a great expression, the business going through puberty. Yeah, I mean, Helen, I think probably the biggest advice around scaling up is stay within your means. I mean, I think what sometimes what we do is we go, there's this huge opportunity out there, I'm going to, go after it, but the business can't come along with you. You need to put in proper structures and support. And often what happens with an entrepreneur that's scaling up, you need 2 types of people in the business. You need the visionary, the strategist, the salesperson, the business development person, the marketing person, the voice of the company. But you also need, very importantly, the operational, the controls, the financial controls. And often those 2 people are not in the same body, because that's 2 very different skill sets. So if you are a visionary entrepreneur, make sure that you've got a operations, financial, somebody who's going to implement what you're telling everybody what you're going to do, and vice versa. If you're an operational, financially control-orientated entrepreneur, make sure that you've got somebody out there that's selling your product, that's walking the streets, that's doing the business development. And those 2 are, I think having those 2 skill sets, it's very important when you're scaling up that you've got both of those. Because as Boosie said, when you're an entrepreneur, when you start out, you're everything. You're the salesperson, you're the financial person, you're everything. But none of us have all of those skills in us. We generally tend to have, higher in one or higher in the other. And if you are scaling, get that support in. Hire whichever one you are, hire the opposite one for them to support your business. And I think that's important. And when a business is going through, I like the word with puberty. I mean, there may be some issues around the controls and, how do I make sure this business is not falling behind? I might have a big opportunity there and I'm going for it, but the business needs to come with me, and making sure that you've got that support and those structures in place, so that the business doesn't end up falling over.
And what is the best type of growth for a business? Question again from Tato Linka. Is steady growth or exponential growth through investment the best way?
Again, Helen, this comes down.
Again, for the layman, please put into perspective, what is steady growth and what is exponential growth?
Yeah. So, I mean, Helen, steady growth would be, if you've got a business, you've got your revenue, you've got your costs, and then there'll be some profit. So if you're taking whatever profit comes out of the business, and obviously the key to getting more profits is either more revenue and less cost. So you want to open those doors. You want more revenue, less cost, so that you've got bigger profit. If you're growing steadily, you're able to take that profit and reinvest it in the business and reinvest it into whatever you need to grow the business, whether it's more salespeople, whether it's more delivery vehicles, whatever it may be. But you're just taking the profits from the business and you're reinvesting it, and the business grows a little bit, and then you get a bit more profit, and you take that profit and you reinvest it. But that's obviously there's a ceiling on that, because you can only grow as fast as the profits that the business is generating, and that's the kind of steady growth path. The alternative is, and this is where the investor comes in, is that you can see the opportunity, but the profit that your business is generating is not enough for you to be able to hit that exponential growth, where the business can grow much faster than the current trajectory that it's on. And often in that time, that's when you need to bring external and capital in. And I think one of the questions, and I've seen this in a couple of the chats here, is when you need external capital, there are two routes to go. Do I take a loan from a bank, or do I go for an investor, and that's equity? And again, there's no right or wrong answer here. And I think often people go, well, give me the right answer. There is no right or wrong answer. It really does depend on your preference and what the business needs. So with debt, the nice thing about debt, the good thing about debt, is that they don't take your shares. So you are still 100% in control of your business. The bank lends you the loan. They stay out of your hair, or they don't interfere, but you need to pay them back. And if you don't pay them back, there's going to be consequences to that. The alternative is that you go to an investor. The investor gives you the capital. They're going to buy your shares, so you no longer have 100% control of your business. But there's no requirement for you to pay the investor back. The investor is investing in your business on a risk basis. I'm giving you the money. I would like it back. I would like a return on it. But if the business fails, you're not in debt, and I just lose my capital, because I would have assessed it that I want my money back. And therefore, choosing which one you go for, you've got more freedom in your shares. You retain your shares if you go for a loan, but you're going to have the bank on you. You are legally obliged to pay that money back. It's different if you take an investor on. And I think, look, what a lot of people building their business do will often go to the bank first, because they don't want to give their shares away. They say, look, I'm rather going to take a loan because I know I can pay that loan back, and then I still have control of my business. I haven't given my shares away. So that's often the first step that people take. But if your business is not able to pay the loan back, then you definitely shouldn't be taking the loan. Then you rather go for an investor to come in and inject capital into your business.
Speaking of investors, we've spoken about getting an investment as an entrepreneur or a business person. On the flip side, question from Brenda Mutsiwa: how do I become an investor? She says she's an entrepreneur. She's seen quite a number of young entrepreneurs with potential, but they lack funds. I do not want to just donate and get nothing. How do I become an investor?
Yeah, I mean, Helen, look, donations are, it's one form of funding, but actually I don't necessarily agree with it as that you're doing the founder any justice by donating their money. You're giving them something, and there's no consequences to that. I mean, you don't want to create a culture of give and not giving back. There's no responsibility in that. So I would absolutely say, if you've got some money and you want to invest in a business, put it in as share capital, or even a loan. because then you're not taking the shares from the entrepreneur. But there needs to be a responsibility on that entrepreneur that they need to pay that money back to you, whether it's through a loan or through the shares, because it makes the entrepreneur a better business person if they have that responsibility to do that. So I would absolutely say, I wouldn't advocate doing it as a grant. You put it in as a loan. You can always forgive the loan, right? You can always forgive the loan if the entrepreneur is going into trouble, but rather put it in as a loan. So it gives that entrepreneur responsibility that they can focus on. I mean, it's fantastic that if there's people out there that are looking to invest in smaller businesses, because the hardest capital to get is that first check. When you're starting out, once a business is established, there's a whole plethora of investors out there that have got capital that want to invest. But getting there is the hard part. So there's, if there's an angel, there's a community of, we call them angel investors, and they're called angel investors because they normally, it's like an angel coming out of nowhere to give you some capital. But there's a thriving community of angel investors that will put capital in. It's hard to find them, but that's a path as an investor that you can start by investing some money in some of these businesses and then supporting them. And I think from an investor perspective, and this is really important, and also if you are an entrepreneur that's looking for capital, the one thing is to take the capital from an investor, but the other thing is to ask the investor, what can you do for my business? How are you going to help me? And as an investor, I want to help you because I want to ensure that I'm going to get my capital back, right, with the return. So what can that investor bring? Can they bring you a network? Can they help you expand your business into other regions? Can they help you employ? Do they have access to good networks to help, if you're looking for people in your business? Can they help you with your technology? Are they good at operations? So what can the investor bring? And you should say to them, guys, I'm taking your money, but please also bring your skills that you can help my business as well.
Thank you so much for that, Natalie. Busi, I want to touch on financial wellness, right? I want to go back to financial management and specifically looking around businesses that also use their income for household expenses. And, this comes from questions from Patience Chimbetete, as well as from, I just lost the other one. But nonetheless, the question is, my business is paying my bills, and this means what comes in goes out immediately. How can I ensure financial wellness in such a scenario? Athena Tiernason also says, what is the best way to manage your money, the money of your business, when you're also using it as a household income?
Okay, so these are great questions. Now, we've got different types of entrepreneurs. There is entrepreneurs that are called lifestyle entrepreneurs. So this is almost someone who is a sole proprietor, someone who is doing a business that it's not going to be the wowest, biggest ever thing that will hire 1,000 people, but it's a business that is just great for them to be able to have a good life, to be able to do the things they want to do. And then one day, maybe if they want to grow it to be a big thing, they'll sell it to somebody who can do that. So we call that a lifestyle business, where normally whatever that you do, it almost looks like you just work for yourself. Yes, let me say that. So when you do work for yourself, it's gonna feel like a client pays you, you pay the school fees, this happens, you buy the petrol. So there's normally not that good flow of this is my business and this is me. It's more like the two are one thing. And it's not a bad thing because it just depends again with what you want to do, and it happens, and you there's ways of managing that. But let's talk about a serious business that you want to grow and make it a big business, that it's still at that point where you are literally just making it so that another day you can function as a business. So now, in that type of business, that's why every business advisor will tell you that you need to have 3 months of expenses that you have saved up for your business that does not look into what has come in. So you've got, we can say a working capital, a money that is available for the business to run. That does not say that if you do not get clients this month, you are not going to be able to function next month. So when you do that, you put yourself in a position where you can be able to pay yourself a salary. Because remember, if the business for 3 months it's got its a normal list of expenses, and your salary now is gonna be one of your own expenses on the business. So it means that the business will pay you a salary. You will have to work with that salary. You cannot say, oh, the business has paid me salary, but then you still go and take. No. Now the business has 3 months of expenses in an account that makes it sure that every month you get a salary. Then you're gonna see the difference in you having your own life and the business having its own life. So if your first goal could be say, I want to have 3 months or 6 months of an amount that makes the business run, and part of that amount is your salary, all of a sudden you have now a salary that makes sure that your business is paying you and you don't have to take money from anyone.
I hope that answers your question, Lindy Magubani. She had asked, at what stage of the business does one start paying themselves? So I'm really glad that you touched on that. Now, Busi, you give me the impression that it's really important to have a relationship with your finances. And I know generally, when it comes to money and it comes to finances, we kind of tiptoe around those topics. Why is it important to have a good financial relationship, as a business owner or an entrepreneur, or rather to have an active relationship with your finances? And how do you maintain a good relationship with your finances?
Yeah, that is my all-time favorite question. Yeah, that is my all favorite time question, because that is where most of the things that go wrong in our lives go wrong there. So at first, we have this big idea that we want to go and start this business. It's going to be great. It's going to be amazing. Then the next thing is we have the fear, and we deal with the fear and we start the business. But then a lot of people have then now this fear. They fear money. And that is where, even when you're going into asking investors for money, you are scared of asking what you need. You make the mistake of asking less, and then you owe the investor, but the money is not enough to make the business work. And then you've messed up now a long-term relationship that could have been great because you were scared of money. So the money that you are supposed to be getting and that's supposed to make you money, you are now no longer looking for that. So if you allow yourself to not be scared of money, which means that you might be scared of failing, you might be scared of not doing something correct, allow yourself to finish all these limiting thoughts in your mind that says you cannot be able to manage money, you cannot be able to handle money. Even if you are going to ask for an investor, investors don't want to give you money because they just want to throw their money away. Investors want to invest in somebody that they see that can make something happen. So when you go to an investor, always think of what you can give them so that they can give you enough of what you need so that you can make it successful. So that is one of the most important things.
Got a question from Sbongile Mazibuko. She asks, can an investor assist you with conducting a feasibility study for your business idea? And if you've just joined us, thank you so much for joining us. This is, of course, the first of 4 masterclasses brought to us by Topco and Standard Bank. It's called the Empow Entrepreneur Development Series. And over the 4 series, we'll be chatting to a number of industry experts to give us some tips on how to make sure that we run and are able to sustain our businesses. Today, we are talking about financial wellness. I am, of course, joined by Busi Selesho, who's a money coach, and Natalie Colby, who's a managing partner at Norskin, that is a company that gives entrepreneurs support through growth funding. We're talking all things financial wellness. So let's talk about whether an investor can assist with conducting a feasibility study. And while we're talking about investors, I want to throw in another question which we got, which is, will an investor look at your credit score when you are looking for funding or investment? So 2 questions there. Will they look at your credit score, and will they assist you with conducting a feasibility study for your business idea?
Helen, let me answer the first one. I mean, look, there are different types of investors. You get the early investors, which are called angels, and angel investors. And then, you then get into investors that are more institutional, that then come with later stage money. Certainly, the hardest capital to get is that first one, as I mentioned. So the earlier your business is in its process, the more harder it is to get the capital. And there's a reason for that, right? The earlier it is and the less established it is, there's less that the investor can look at, and therefore the risk is much higher. So investors don't want to lose their money. So then they go, well, come back to me when you've got revenue, when I can see that there's growth in the business, when I can see that there's cash flow, then I'm happy to invest because it's reduced the risk for me. So I'm going to just be completely honest, it's hard to get an investor to come alongside you at the feasibility stage, because then you're asking the investor to take all of the risk and almost, at that point. It doesn't mean to say that there aren't investors out there that won't, but it is much, much harder. As you get bigger and more established and have more track record, that investors can look at and go, okay, this business has been operating for a year, it's 2 years, 3 years. Now I can see that it's successful. It's got a track record and I'm willing to put my capital in. So it's hard. I'm not saying it's impossible, but you do have to go and kind of scurry around and find those angel investors in your networks that would be willing to do it. So it's hard, but not impossible.
And then on the subject of credit score, can your credit score, if I've got a really poor credit score and I want to start a business, can that credit score hamper me from starting that business? Is that something investors look at? I think we know banks generally look at credit scores when we make applications, but a non-banking investor, is that something that they would also look at?
It is. I mean, it is something that investors will look at because, again, if you're investing behind an entrepreneur, you want to invest behind somebody that you know is going to be responsible with your money. And there is a perception, it might not be the right one, but if somebody has a bad credit score, it might feel, well, they may not have been responsible with that capital at the time. So people will be reticent to invest behind somebody who has a bad credit score. However, it's not a death knell. If there's a very good reason to say, well, look, I tried this is the reason that it failed, and hence the reason why I have a bad credit score. However, I have learned X, Y, Z from that. I've implemented that in my business, and you can see that this business is now on the right track. Then investors may get around that and be willing to invest. But certainly, if you can avoid getting a bad credit score, that would be first prize.
Thank you for that, Natalie. If you do have a bad credit score, I'm asking this out of interest. I've got a bad credit score. An investor or a bank has informed me that, look, your credit score is not looking so lekker. What can I do to sort of improve things?
I think Boosie would be the best person to answer this, considering she's got first-hand experience on how to get out of it, which is an amazing story.
Absolutely, Boosie. Share with us, how does one go about improving their credit score? And, I'll use you again as an example. I mean, 40 million is a lot. Just thinking about it makes me want to run. How did you go about getting your credit score together?
Yeah. So first thing, when you do get into a bad credit score, you have to use that as an advantage to yourself. If you've ever had this line that says bad publicity is also good publicity, use it to your advantage. Now,
please tell us more.
So the thing is this: most like I said to you, I got into 40 million rand because at one place I was owing, and then I would go into another level of owing. But every time I used the fact that I failed at something for these people to be able to give me more, because people who take risks are actually very few, number one. So the more I show you that I take enough risk, but then of course I have to prove to you that I didn't buy an LV bag or this and this. And I came and I wasn't buying LV bags. I was literally doing it to grow a business, and I had everything to prove that I was doing it. And when it worked very well. So everybody that looked at it was like, oh my goodness, so you do this, you did it like this, and you did this, and then, oh, this is where you made the mistake, and this is where you failed. Oh, I see. Now, did you learn from it? Yes. So I kept kept proving that I was learning. I wasn't failing because I was stupid. I was failing because I was learning. Now, if you meet somebody who says to you, I've got 10 years experience and I'm coming here to ask for a job. That person in the 10 years, it doesn't mean that they were winning every day. There is so many things that have been going wrong. So when you find yourself in that situation, always use it to your advantage. Do not be scared of being vulnerable to your investor. The more you are vulnerable and authentic about what went wrong, the better, and you will get what you need. So if you haven't gotten to the place where you have fixed the credit score, you have a bad credit score, go, and the first thing you want to say is that, by the way, I've done a lot and I've gone through so much, and that has landed me with a bad credit score. You start with that. You've killed it. It does not exist anymore. It's now a strength instead of a weakness. Now, that is first thing. So now how do you fix it? Because of course you need to fix it. So when you get another opportunity to do over things, like I said, there are very critical things, just like the fact that where you did you ask enough? A lot of entrepreneurs, I don't know how to explain this. When you are borrowing money from a bank or an investor, or somebody is investing in you, be able to ask enough so that you don't put yourself shoot yourself in the foot by asking less, and that less doesn't. So the next time you are able to get another chance, be able to ask enough and then use it in a way that it helps you to generate profit. And of course, when you're generating profit, you want to be able to go and negotiate with your creditors, that they understand that you are coming to them, and because all of those things count towards the credit score. How you negotiate with people you owe, how you plan with them. Sometimes other creditors will even say to you, give us a stake in your business to take off their debt. So there are so many things. Don't just think one thing. There are so many ways to kill a cat. And when you're an entrepreneur, you are creative. You can come up with things that will get you out of the hot water. So don't be scared of the hot water. Ask yourself, how can I swim out of this? And when you're an entrepreneur, there's nothing you can't make happen. Anytime, it doesn't matter what is happening, you will always try to find a space, try to find that corner, that niche, that place that will allow you to be able to thrive for whatever reason. So if you're already in a bad score credit, don't think it's an advantage, it's a disadvantage. Make it to be an advantage. Look at how you can use it to make it work. Then when you find the next opportunity, do not plan badly. Make sure that you over plan so that you don't fail this time.
Thank you so much for touching on Lucy. It is 12:15. This is the first of the Empower Entrepreneur Development Series, brought to you by Topco, Standard Bank, and UN Women. Joined, of course, by Busisile Shomani, coach, and Natalie Colby, partner of Norskin. My name, of course, is Helen Nambonya. I'm super honored to be joining you today, and of course to serve as a moderator. Busi, I've got a question from Lerato Mazibuko, still touching on the credit score aspect. She says, I struggle so much on getting credit, yet I make so much money in my account. And we hear those stories often. The income comes in, you've got minimal expenses, but you might struggle to get credit. Please advise on what I can do to help my business.
But do you really need the credit? So again, it's so important. Sometimes we think we need credit and we don't need it. So if you are not able to get credit, it might just be that you might not need it. But let's say you do need it, but you are not getting it. There is something you are not seeing, that you are not explaining about what you want to do with the money. There are very specific factors that creditors will look at when they're giving you a credit. So let's say, for instance, we all know that if you want to today go and buy a car and a house and a few things, and you earn the average salary, the bank will give it to you. But then again, go and with your average salary and ask for a business loan, the bank will not give it to you. Why? They are looking at you. You don't have business experience. You don't have this. You don't have this. You don't have this. But then they know that if you are in a job and you are working every day, you will probably pay us our money. But if you don't have a business experience, how? So make sure that you understand what is it that the bank is looking for, and give it to them the way they need it. Like I said, really, it is a skill. That's why sometimes you need somebody like Natalie to help you going to ask for funding, because they sort of understand exactly what you need to put in place for the creditor to be at peace with the fact that they're giving you money.
What happens in the instance where you don't have a credit track record? Question from Danila Govender. She says, I'm a late starter and unfortunately I don't have any credit track record. How do I go about accessing funding, as I'd love to use my years of experience for skills training?
Okay, so that most of the times creditors look at as a risk because they don't know what is your behavior. So a credit score literally talks about your behavior. What is the relationship you have with money? So in this case, you don't have any credit behavior that that is documented, but then you do have skills of being in this industry for a certain period. So then you will have to use that in this case to say, I actually have experience in doing this. As much as I've never came and borrowed money for anything in business, but I have experience. So those are the things I'm saying. You have to look at what can work for you to put as a strength on your side that you are worthy of being given them. So use your experience.
Thank you so much for that, Busi. We are, of course, getting to the end of this session. So for those of you tuning in, watching, interested in the insight that both Natalie and Busi are provided, this is your last chance to send through those questions. Do remember as well, you can follow our social media pages where you will find all the information about the Empower Entrepreneur Development Series and in general about Standard Bank Top Women and all their initiatives, their events. So do check out our social media pages as well. Standard Bank Top Women on Facebook and SB Top Women Leaders on Instagram. You can find a wealth of information there. And of course, a big thank you so much to you all for interacting, for posing your questions. I hope this has been incredibly insightful for you as it has been for me. Natalie, before we officially wrap up, let's talk about, rather Natalie and Busi, the both of you, let's talk about the type of tools that are useful for entrepreneurship, tools that will assist you in putting together a good plan for an investor, in tracking your finances as well, finding a business coach. What sort of tools would an entrepreneur or business owner require in order to, facilitate this process and manage the process a bit easier?
Yeah, Helen, I mean, there's a lot on the internet. There's a lot of free stuff on the internet. So I would certainly encourage entrepreneurs to go onto the internet first and see what they can find. And the other thing that I will say is something, I mean, it's probably not a tool, but I'd say it's something that I would encourage entrepreneurs to do is to network. I know it's hard when you're sitting inside your business and you're running your business and, there's only 24 hours in a day and you've got personal commitments that you need to get to, but you'll be surprised at the power of a network, helping you to get access to funding. It might help you to get access to, different markets, etc. For example, I saw in one of the chats, there's a lady that's got a creative space where entrepreneurs can come and showcase their product, right? Now, without networking, and this is a network, right? What we're doing here today is networking. If I'm sitting here and I saw there was another lady who does, jewelry design. If I'm the jewelry design entrepreneur and I see, oh, well, hold on. Through this networking experience, I can see that there's somebody out there that I can potentially approach to go and, showcase my products in her studio or in her space. That is a business connection that happened through this networking, which you would never have thought about by pitching up on this. So I would encourage entrepreneurs to network. You never know what comes out of it. And you will have 10 conversations, 9 of them will not go anywhere, and you'll get something out of one of them. You'll probably get something out of every one of them, but one of them will be really an interesting, connection that you have. So it's not a tool, but I would say it is, maybe it is a tool. Just really, I would encourage you to network. Events like this, but also being deliberate and intentional about your networking. If you're thinking, okay, well, I want to grow my business, what do I need to do? If I need to get to investors, Google angel investors in South Africa. You will find stuff. Google incubators. You will find incubators out there. Google funding for women entrepreneurs. There is a lot of stuff on the internet, and you will spend a lot of time kissing a lot of frogs, but at some point you'll find a prince.
Busi, from your side?
That is so true. Networking, I mean, everyone knows that your network determines your net worth. So networking, of course, I really believe in that. Then the next thing is sharing. A lot of times, specifically for ladies, ladies, even in a job, ladies do a lot, but they always get paid the least because they don't talk about their achievements. They don't talk about the things they have done. Now, if you are networking with me, it depends on what you're giving me during the networking session that is going to make me want to work with you. So if you do not say the things that you are good at, the things that you have achieved, the things that you have done, nobody wants to pay attention to you because we all have problems. We all have things that are in our mind, but you have to sort of stand out. We've all have heard of the 30-second pitch. It's sometimes said 1 minute to 2 minutes. But that pitch that makes a person think about what you are doing. And then another thing, what you think about your own skills and values, it is so critical. Nobody is ever going to believe in what you do if you don't believe in yourself. So that self-love we all have heard about, it's always critical. If I do not take care of my own self and respect my values and know that I am worth more, nobody is going to think I am worth more. Nobody's going to give me that quotation approval. Nobody is going to pay my invoice in time. Nobody is going to give me a chance even to showcase myself. So let us try to make sure that we value who we are. We value what we do. We know that we are doing this business because it is a passion. It is a purpose for us. We are not just making, somebody a favor. Now, once you put those in place, when you walk into a networking session, people will feel your energy. People will say, oh, we want to work with this person. And it's not that you're going to be perfect. There's going to be things that you might not be able to do as perfect as they should be done or as perfect as they want. But there will always be knowing that you can do whatever you can do. And understand that you are the best brand for yourself and your business. Make sure that you believe in you first. Everybody, the angel investors, the bank, the clients, everybody will believe in you if you do it yourself first.
Thank you so much. And, for those of you joining us, we are, of course, getting to the end of the session. But I think more than anything, what I have learned from Busi and from Natalie is the importance of following your passion. Don't get into something if you're not passionate about it. It'll be very difficult to sustain. Networking. And, I'm so glad to have seen in the comments, in the chat box, in question and answer, the sharing of ideas, the exchanging of details. That is essentially where it starts. Get a coach, do research as well. I always say Google is your friend. Make use of it. And of course, do exchange details and exchange ideas. Before we officially close off, Busi, Natalie, any last words from you?
So, as I said, being an entrepreneur is a game of those who dare. It's not an easy game. It's not going to be easy, but it's the most fulfilling thing you'll ever do. I promise you, even on the days where you come back beaten up, it's actually those days that every time when you win, you remember them. You remember, oh my goodness, there was that day I didn't even know what I was going to eat. There was that day I didn't know how I'm going to pay my employees. There was that day, I mean, I remember so many months, if it wasn't years, where all I was working for was just paying my employees. And it's the most painful thing when you're doing it. But once it's done, you've passed that stage, it is the most rewarding thing. So it is the game of those who dare. Tell yourself, I am not going to back down. I am going to make sure that I make this work. And every setback or progress that you make, it counts. So your setbacks, you need to go there and say, these are my setbacks. I have had them and I've learned from them. Heal from things that have happened. Move on as quickly as you can. Fail as fast as you can so that you can get where you want to go. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Essentially dare to dream. And I think you are evidence that it's important to dream. I mean, no one would imagine getting out of a 40 million rand debt and being where they are today. Kudos to you. You are an exceptional example of somebody who dares to dream. Natalie, last words from you?
Yeah, and I think, I've summarized it in the comments before. I mean, a journey of entrepreneurship is a lonely one. And it can feel very lonely because you're by yourself. There are going to be naysayers, and often those naysayers are the people that are closest to you because they don't want you to fail and they're worried about what you're doing. And I think it's to in that moment know to step out of kind of your own head and get that support, either whether it's support within your community or support from a coach, as Boosie suggested, or support from a network. And I'll just make this point again. Certainly, when I've put my mind to something and thought, this is where I want to go, this is what I want to do, that's where I want to go. Let me start networking in that direction. And it's amazing how through that network, you find something, it helps, and then you eventually get there. So I'd really just, make this point again is be intentional about where you're networking, and things will come to you. They will come.
Thank you so much, Natalie. And of course, thank you, all of you who joined us from every part of the country, some of you out of South Africa. Thank you so much for joining us for the first of our Empower Entrepreneur Development Series. And we are giving away 2 top women swag bags. Karen Bailey and Tibelo Molefe, do look out from an email coming from the Topco team with regards to your swag bags. An exceptional big thank you to Natalie Colby and Busi Selesho. Thank you as well for joining me for the first of 4 masterclasses. Do remember to check out our social media pages, Standard Bank Top Women on Facebook, and of course, SB Top Women Leaders. My name is Helen Namponya, and I will see you on the 8th of September for part 2 of the Empower Entrepreneur Development Series. This time, our focus is going to be on working smarter. It's been an absolute pleasure. I do hope you'll be joining us again on the 8th of September. Happy Thursday.